On October 7, 2023, 30-year-old Anna Gutu, her rival Gina Rzucidlo, and their two sherpas lost their lives during a fierce competition to the summit of the Shishapangma mountain in Tibet. Before the tragedy, both women were on the last lap of what was supposed to be their final summit of all 14 of the world's highest peaks. A record-breaking ambition that would have made them the first American women to successfully summit all 14 of the highest peaks in the world. However, what was supposed to be a record-breaking moment in mountaineering history quickly degenerated into an unhealthy rivalry that not only cost their lives, but also claimed the lives of two highly skilled Sherpas with bright careers ahead of them. Anna was the youngest and least experienced of the two. In fact, when she climbed her first 8,000-meter peak in September 2022, her competitor was already halfway into the 14. Anna started her career in baking and pastry. However, she took a dramatic interest in mountain climbing after watching a documentary of another elite climber who successfully summited all 14 8,000ers in just 6 months. For Anna, this was a sign, an inspiration for her to do something more exciting with her life. Despite not being super athletic, Anna enrolled with hiking companies and in 2022 posted a picture of her summiting a 6,000-meter peak with the caption, "Never be afraid to try something new." 3 months later, she summited Everest and went on to summit several other 8,000ers, all of which she documented on her social media pages. Despite her lack of experience in mountain climbing, Anna was resilient and also made sure to register with professional climbing companies that gave her highly experienced climbing guides. By September 2023, just a month before tragedy struck, Anna had summited 13 of the world's highest peaks, documenting real-life footage of each ascent on Instagram. The fact that she was a newcomer in climbing yet ticking off her boxes quickly made her an internet sensation, with over 38,000 followers keeping up with her adventures on Instagram. Gina, on the other hand, was a 45-year-old senior climber with a strong passion for mountaineering. She first started climbing in 2008 and in 2018 summited Everest successfully. The following year, she summited all the 7 tallest peaks in the 7 continents, including Mount Kilimanjaro. Her success in this marked the beginning of a lifelong dream to be the first American woman to summit all 14 of the world's highest peaks. Between 2022 and 2023, Gina summited 5 8,000-meter peaks. In a text message she sent to her family that year, she said, "I'm going to be the first American woman to have finished all 14 and only the second American ever." Each day brought Gina closer to her, but unfortunately all of this would change as she got to know about Anna's similar ambition through her Instagram posts. The two rivals met for the first time at Everest Base Camp, although it was for completely different reasons. Gina was climbing Lhotse, her 8th peak, while Anna was attempting a back-to-back ascent of Lhotse and Everest as her 3rd and 4th. According to witnesses, the two seemed friendly at first, but as both women progressed, each became aware of the other's ambitions. As they got close to their goal, Gina grew increasingly worried about the young girl whom she constantly referred to as an Instagram adventurer. In between Anna's bold Instagram updates and Gina's increasing worry, the race for the title became even stronger, turning into an unhealthy rivalry between the two women. In September of 2023, the duo met again during their 13th climb on Cho Oyu. They were now at a tie with just one last mountain to go. It was Shishapangma. On the afternoon of October 4th, Gina arrived at Shishapangma Base Camp with her guide Tenzin Sherpa. Tenzin Sherpa, also known as Lama, was one of the popular professional Sherpas on the Himalayas. He had a solid track record that went even further up after he and Kristen Harila beat the record of fastest summit of all 14 highest peaks, which they did in just 92 days. Lama was a technically skilled climber, and to Gina, he was just the right person she needed by her side during this final lap. Because she was still in the lead, Gina arrived at Shishapangma, fully ready to climb the next day. However, upon her arrival, she found several other climbing teams and expedition companies camping at the mountain's base camp, with no one attempting an upward push. Apparently, it had been snowing heavily for days and the tracks were heavily covered in thick snow, so everyone was waiting the snow out before fresh tracks and ropes would be fixed. Gina was advised to wait the snow out too, but with Anna in hot pursuit, she couldn't risk waiting for clearer days. This was her final lap to victory, and she knew she had to act fast if she was going to get to the summit before Anna. Besides, Shishapangma was one of the easiest of the 148,000-meter peaks. The route to its base camp was motorable, and it generally wasn't much of a technical climb like K2 or Annapurna. Its only major downside was that it was avalanche-prone. But that wasn't going to be a challenge. The following day, Gina and her guide Lama left base camp, hoping to push to Camp 2. However, cutting tracks and fixing ropes into the deep snow was slow and exhausting, and as the skies began to darken, the duo were forced to spend the night in Camp 1. Very early the next morning, they pushed on to Camp 2. Meanwhile, Anna was fast catching up. She, along with her team, began the climb from base camp to Camp 1. The same day, Gina left for Camp 2. Some of the other expedition teams that had been waiting the snow out also decided to join Anna's group as they all made their way to Camp 1. By the afternoon of that same day, Anna reached Camp 2, much to Gina's displeasure. The atmosphere was tense. Word had spread around camp about the two women's race to the summit. Anna's Instagram was also buzzing with love and support from fans rooting for her. Some of the veteran Sherpas and climbers tried to initiate conversations about how the two women could cooperate and share the title, but this had no effect. None was ready to compromise. Around 3 a.m. on the 7th of October, the push for the summit began right from Camp 2. Anna started first along with her Sherpa and her cameraman. An hour later, Gina and Lama followed. After a few hours, several of the other expedition teams also joined the climb. There were many climbers on the mountain that day, but up ahead were Anna's team, followed by Gina and her Sherpa trailing closely behind. The women were climbing at an impressive speed despite the deep snow that covered the trail. As they climbed past the steep icy wall of camp, three Anna's teams separated from the normal route to stay ahead of Gina and started heading for the northeastern face that led to the summit. The route was an unstable area of snow that usually wasn't traversed, but because of her competition, Anna persuaded her team to press forward. At this point, they were at 7,700 meters, only 300 meters away from the summit, when tragedy struck. Without warning, an avalanche, possibly triggered by the trio's climbing, and the snow-melting sun suddenly collapsed down the northern face, sweeping Anna's team in the process. The climbers below could only watch in horror as the white show crashed against itself. The remaining members of Anna's team, whom she had separated from, quickly made their way up to the site, and after a few minutes of digging, discovered Anna and her Sherpa, Mingmar's lifeless body roped together in the snowy debris. The two were dead, but Anna's cameraman Karma survived the avalanche. He was badly injured and unable to walk, but just as the rescuers were trying to get him out of the danger zone, they heard another rumble followed by a large crash. It was another avalanche just 100 meters away from the summit and directly in the line where Gina and Lama were climbing. There was no surviving that. Because of the two consecutive slides, many climbers began to retreat. Even the rescuers had to abandon looking for the bodies, fearing another avalanche. Gina and Lama's bodies were never found, believed to have been washed into the large crevasse in the area. Their deaths triggered a global reaction from mountain climbing veterans around the world who blamed the increasing summit fever on climbers' craze for breaking news records or proving a point while endangering not just their lives, but the lives of their Sherpas and fellow climbers. Lama's death was an especially painful blow to the Sherpa community, as he was known to be an exceptional guide with a very promising future. Critics have also blamed expedition companies who, in a bid to make money, convince their clients they can reach any heights despite being inexperienced.